As you're leveling with Animate Weapon, there's only one vendor recipe you need to be aware of, the goal being to have a 4-linked helm with +1 to minion gem levels, and this recipe comes in 2 parts. The first step is we need to have a life flask of animation. We can get that by vendoring any life flask, any bone spirit shield, and an orb of transmutation in order to get that. Keep in mind it must be a bone spirit shield. If you use other spirit shields, it will not work. So you have your life flask of animation, you vendor that along with an orb of alteration and a magic circlet in order to get one with +1 to minion gem levels. And keep in mind for the sockets, we want to have at least 1 green to put in Animate Weapon, and then either 2 or 3 blue sockets and not more than 1 red in order to have it fit in with the rest of what we're doing. After that, we can hit it with an orb of augmentation, hope to get something good, and then we're on our way. So we come out the right through these minion nodes that gives a little bit more attack speed and damage. Then we come through the mana and life nodes, and the goal is to get over to Enduring Bond as quickly as possible because it gives increased skill effect duration as well as a nice bit of damage boosts. The other option, which is more aggressive, is to come immediately out the left and just take these connecting nodes here. The advantage is it gets us to Enduring Bond a little bit faster. The downside is we don't get any minion buffs right away, so the early levels will be a little bit harder, and eventually we want to spec out of these initial nodes because they're not all that efficient, but we can come back and fix that later. So after grabbing Enduring Bond, I double back and take Lord of the Dead, and our next objective is to get down and into the Grave Pact nodes. So I'd rush through this Templar area. We get some very nice life nodes along the way, and then we're into Grave Pact. These are some of the most efficient damage nodes for minions on the entire tree, so that'll make our leveling process a lot easier. Around this point, we're getting close to Act 3 most likely, and mana is going to start being an issue when we hit a 4-link item. So I come down here to Aligned Spirits, which will give us extra mana and reduced cost of minions, making it a little bit easier to be spamming our spells all the time. And then I would also grab Quick Recovery because that gives us some more mana regeneration rate in addition to some life. The next goal is to be moving up to the top left of the tree. So I'd come up here, take Sacrifice, which gives some regeneration to both minions and us. We can take Spiritual Command for more attack speed, and then we're connecting up here through Purity of Flesh, coming up into Sovereignty, which will make our auras more effective, and also hopefully make it possible to run Skitterbots at the same time with the reduced mana reserved. We come down here, and at this point is where I would save up a couple of points and connect back with the Witch starting area, and I'd use some of the respec points that we got from the quest lines to gain back those 6 passives at the start, and then we can dump those 6 immediately into all these minion damage nodes over here and see an immediate increase in our clear speed because those are just a ton more efficient than the nodes coming out of the start of the Witch area. So after we clear out this wheel with Redemption, then we can come down and take Devotion for a very large life boost, and after that it's time to come back into the center toward the Scion wheel. So we can come down and get Shaper for more regeneration and mana, Potency of Will for more skill effect duration if we feel a need for it. That's kind of a judgment call. We're coming down this area toward Constitution for another big life boost, and the goal is to connect back around at the bottom to the Grave Pact area, and at that point we can spend 2 more respec points and take these back because we just don't need those nodes very much. And here we're in a pretty good spot, entering close to the probably around Act 7 or 8 at this point, getting close into maps, and we've got a lot of flexibility as to what we might want to do from here. Probably come up and grab some more life nodes and some resistances at Cruel Preparation, and then start looking for areas where we can fill in extra jewel sockets for very cheap. We can start looking for some jewels that'll hopefully boost our damage as well. And at that point, it's just a judgment call whether you want to take a little bit more life over in this area, but we've got basically all of our damage nodes covered. There's 2 situations you might run into as you start getting into maps. For one, your resistances might be in a pretty bad spot. The easiest way to fix that in the short run is to just come over and spend 2 points into Holy Dominion, and that'll give 12 all resist and make it a little bit easier to progress into maps. The other option is to take these 3 points over at Ash, Frost, and Storm, which will also give 12% all resistance. It does nothing for our damage, but it will help survivability until we get some better gear, and then when we get better gear, we just spec out of those. The other thing that might come up is not having enough mana to cast spells consistently, so we can always come up here and take Deep Thoughts if we need it, or we can come down into Righteous Decree for increased mana and reduced mana cost, or perhaps the best option of all, because we'll actually want this node in the long run, is Tireless for increased life and reduced mana cost of skills, and then hopefully in the long run we can just spec out of those mana nodes later on when we don't need them anymore.